Dear friends, this is episode number 41 of the Limitation Act. Now we are on section 17. Let us see section 17 first. Effect of fraud or mistake. Effect of fraud or mistake. Two things are discussed here. One is fraud, the other is mistake. There are 4 clauses here, subclauses, under subsection 1, A, B, C, D. 17.1 says, where in the case of any suit or application, for which a period of limitation is prescribed by this Act, then clause A, the suit or application is based upon the fraud of the defendant or respondent or his agent. B, the knowledge of the right or title on which a suit or application is founded is concealed by the fraud of any such person as aforesaid. Or C, the suit or application is for relief from the consequence of a mistake. Or where any document necessary to establish the right of the plaintiff or the applicant has been fraudulently concealed from him. Then in any of these 4 cases, we will read A to D once again. Suit or application is based upon the fraud of the defendant or his agent. The knowledge of the right or title on which the suit or application is founded is concealed by the fraud of such person, such a defendant or agent or his agent. Suit or application is from the relief from the consequence of a mistake. Or D, where any document necessary to establish the right of the plaintiff or applicant has been fraudulently concealed from him. In any of these 4 cases, the period of limitation shall not begin to run until the plaintiff or applicant has discovered the fraud or mistake or could with reasonable diligence have discovered it. Or in the case of a concealed document, until the plaintiff or the applicant first had the means of producing the concealed document or compelling its production. So these are the things. Then proviso. And clauses A to D, the period of any of the clauses is satisfied, the period of limitation shall not begin to run until the plaintiff or the applicant has discovered such fraud or a mistake, or could with reasonable diligence have discovered it. In the case of a concealed document, the applicant had the first means of producing or procuring or compelling its production. So that the limitation shall not begin to run. We have seen in section 5 extension, section 12(14) exclusion, etc., etc. Here it is limitation shall not begin to run in the case of fraud or mistake until certain eventualities happen. Provided that nothing in this section shall enable any suit to be instituted or application to be made to recover or enforce any charge against or set aside any transaction affecting any property which. So this will not apply to recover or enforce any charge against or set aside any transaction affecting any property, which there are three instances are there. In the case of fraud, has been purchased for valuable consideration by a person who was not a party to the fraud and did not at the time of purchase know or have ever reason to believe that the fraud has been committed. That means purchased for valuable consideration by a person who was not aware of the fraud or who could not have reason to believe that any such fraud was committed. So he is completely clean. So a purchaser for valuable consideration from a person who has perpetrated the fraud, from the consequence of fraud, as a relief a person is entitled to, but that should not affect the rights which were acquired by a bona fide purchaser for value who was not aware of the existence of the fraud or who had no reason to believe that any fraud has been committed. So that is the proviso, is to protect innocent purchasers or innocent persons who have acquired right in the meanwhile. In the case of a mistake, has been purchased for valuable consideration subsequent to the transaction in which the mistake was made by a person who did not know or have reason to believe that the mistake had been made. In the case of mistake also, it was purchased by a person who was not aware of the mistake or who did not have any reason to believe that such a mistake has been made. So that he is completely unaware of the mistake. He is not a privy to the mistake. Party to the mistake he is not. He is not a privy to the mistake also. He is not a person who wanted to take advantage of the mistake, knowing that there is such a mistake. He is a completely honest man. Court must be satisfied on facts that he is a bona fide purchaser. 3. In the case of a concealed document, has been purchased for valuable consideration by a person who was not a party to the concealment and did not at the time of purchase know or have reason to believe that such document had been concealed. So a document is concealed, so therefore a person could not institute a suit or make an application, and the time will not begin to run until the document is discovered or has reason or has opportunity to cause its production. Then that period will be excluded. Time will not begin to run until this eventuality happens. But then exceptions are there, bona fide transactions where strangers are involved. 2. Subsection 2. Where a judgmentator has by force or by fraud or force prevented the execution of a decree or order within the period of limitation, the court may, on the application of the judgment creditor made after the expiry of the said period, extend the period for execution of the decree or order. Execution also can be extended, provided that such application is made within 1 year from the date of discovery of fraud or the cessation of force, as the case may be. Even for execution, time can be extended, but not the same 12 years or so, 1 year. Court must be satisfied by force or fraud it prevented the execution of the decree or order within the period of limitation. The court may, on the application of such judgment creditor made after the expiry of the said period, extend the period of execution of the decree or order, provided that such application is made within 1 year from the date of discovery or fraud or the cessation of force, as the case may be. Subsection 2, I have not come across any such case. No reported case also is seen. Section 17 Section 17 embodies fundamental principles of justice and equity. Justice and equity. Now, what are the other provisions relevant for consideration along with Section 17 of the Limitation Act? Order 6, please note down. Order 6, Rule 4, CPC. Order 6, Rule 10. Order 7, Rule 6. And Order 8, Rule 2 of CPC. Indian Contract Act, Section 17. In the Indian Contract Act, Section 17, fraud is defined. Fraud means and includes any of the following acts committed by a party to a contract, or with the connivance or by his agent, with intent to deceive another party thereto, or his agent, or to induce him to enter into the contract. So, fraud means and includes any of the following acts committed by a party to the contract or his agent, with intent to deceive another party. What are the following acts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Suggestion as a fact of that which is not true. A person suggests of a particular fact which is not true to his knowledge by one who did not believe it to be true. That is fraud. The active concealment of a fact by one having knowledge or belief of that fact. That is also deceitful, means fraud. 2. 3. A promise made without any intention of performing it. 4. Any other act fitted to deceive. Deceive. 5. Any such act or omission as to law specifically, any such act or omission as the law specifically declares to be fraudulent. This is the definition. Then there is an explanation there. Mere silence as to facts likely to affect the willingness of a person to enter into a contract is not fraud, unless the circumstances of the case are such that regard being had to them, it is a duty of the person keeping silence to speak, or unless his silence is in itself equivalent to speech. I am a party to a contract. I know several things. I am not bound to disclose it to you, unless the circumstances are such that I am bound to speak to you to make a valid contract. That is my duty. These are all the instances, then illustrations are also there A to D. This is fraud. Now, the other provisions in the CPC we will see. Order 6, Rule 4. Order 6, Rule 4. Order 6, pleadings generally. Pleadings generally. Order 6, Rule 1 says what is pleading, what is meant by pleading. Pleading means the plaint shall mean the plaint or written statement. So, by the expression pleading, it means plaint as well as written statement. Rule 4, particulars to be given where necessary. In all cases in which the party pleading relies on any misrepresentation, fraud, breach of trust, willful default, or undue influence. And in all cases in which the particulars may be necessary beyond such as are exemplified in the forms aforesaid. Particulars with the dates and items, if necessary, shall be stated in the pleading. Some forms are there in the appendix. That by itself is not sufficient. We add something. We make the pleadings better. And in all other cases in which particulars may be necessary beyond such as are exemplified in the forms aforesaid. Forms are there. Forms, exemplification of the fraud or any other misrepresentation may be necessary. It is not sufficient to say fraud. What is fraud? All must be stated. Relies on any misrepresentation, fraud, breach of trust, or willful default or undue influence shall be stated in the pleading. Then, Rule 10 of Order 6. Malice, knowledge, etc. Wherever it is material to allege malice, fraudulent intention, knowledge, or other condition of the mind of any person, it shall be sufficient to allege the same as a fact without setting out the circumstances from which the same is to be inferred. In the pleading, all these circumstances need not be stated. That is a matter of evidence. Pleading should not be argumentative also. That is all the rules say. Pleadings which are necessary for you to succeed, to enable the court to arrive at the conclusion whether you are entitled to the relief. Court must understand, the opposite party must understand what is in your mind, what is the right you are claiming, what is the relief you are claiming, and on what basis, what is a law on the basis of which you are claiming some exemption or something. All these things are necessary in the pleadings. In other words, it is necessary that the other party should not be put to prejudice, put to surprise. Hoodwinking the other party, that is not the... See, some of the decisions say, however proficient the lawyer may be or the party may be, astuteness in pleadings by itself is not a ground to grant the relief or to deny the relief. Astuteness in drafting of pleadings. There are some lawyers who are very proficient in, even after reading the plaint, you will not understand what it is, but if you point out, say, I have pleaded, they will show. These are all methods. Some persons, even if they disclose everything, you will not understand what it is. They will mix up things in such a way that the listener does not understand. That happens in the case of pleadings also. Pleadings is only a reflection of the mind of the persons in the world. See, various persons, see, I narrate a thing. I see an incident, I narrate a thing. You also narrate a thing. Third party also narrates a thing. All these things may be different. Some party deliberately narrates a thing with a view that the listener does not understand. That also is possible. So that happens, the manifestation of the behavior of the human beings reflect in pleadings and other papers also. So Rule 10. Then Order 7, Rule 6. Order 7, plaint. Grounds of exemption from limitation law. Where the suit is instituted after the expiration of the period prescribed by the law of limitation, the plaint shall show the ground upon which exemption from such law is claimed. So you say that period of limitation as provided in the second column of the schedule to the Limitation Act is over, but limitation has not begun to run because of existence of a fraud, and the fraud was unearthed at a later point of time, and therefore time has not begun to run, and therefore the suit is within limitation. That is a matter to be pleaded. Then Order 8 Rule 2. Order 8 Rule 2. New facts must be specifically pleaded. The defendant must raise by his pleading all matters which show the suit to be not maintainable, or that the transaction is either void or voidable in point of law, and all such grounds of defense as, if not raised, would be likely to take the opposite party by surprise, or would raise issues of fact not arising out of the plaint, as for instance fraud, limitation, release, payment, performance, or facts showing illegality. All these things should be pleaded if you are taking a defense. These are all the other provisions also which you must take care while making the necessary pleadings where you allege fraud, whether as plaintiff or as defendant. Some cases you may, as a defendant also, is entitled to certain say that the plaintiff is not entitled to the relief because he is guilty of fraud. Then what is fraud? What are the circumstances and what are the pleadings on that, and what evidence would be adduced? All these things will be relevant. So it is not, fraud is not always for the plaintiff to prove. It is for the defendant also sometimes. Happens. Now we will go to some of the decisions, decided cases. A Supreme Court judgment by in 2018, AER 2018 Supreme Court 5013. Those who have arbitration cases, this is very important. Question was whether to set aside an arbitral award, a maximum period is provided, delay condonation is possible up to 30 days, no further extension. Supreme Court has settled the question of law, that no further extension, it is the cut-off date, nothing else. Question which arises in this case is whether section 17 can be invoked. Supreme Court said no. There Radhabai P and others versus P. Ashok Kumar and another. AER 2018 Supreme Court 5013. Section 17, I am reading paragraph 32, one or two sentences. Section 17 does not extend or break the limitation period. It only postpones or defers the commencement of the limitation period. This is evident from the phrase, the period of limitation shall not begin to run. Now the main question which was considered after considering all these things, the conclusion, paragraph 36, in our view, the aforesaid inconsistencies with the language of 34(3) of the Arbitration Act tantamount to an express exclusion of section 17 of the Limitation Act. Then para 37 onwards, the reasons. I will read para 38, one sentence. Further, exclusion of section 17 is also necessarily implied when one looks at the scheme and object of the Arbitration Act. Scheme and object of the Arbitration Act, we will find that section 17 is excluded. Then paragraph 39 is there, paragraph 40. Then para 39 it is said that it was to provide a speedy dispute resolution process, that is discussed. Then para 40, second, extending section 17 of the Limitation Act would do violence to the scheme of the Arbitration Act. As discussed above, section 36 enables a party to apply for enforcement of the award when the period for challenging the award under section 34 has expired. However, if section 17 were to be extended to section 34, the determination of the time for making the application to set aside the arbitral award in section 36 will become uncertain and create confusion in the enforcement of award. This runs counter to the scheme and object of the Arbitration Act. Third, section 34(3) reflects the principle of unbreakability, that is the period. Therefore, section 17 is excluded. This is a very important decision so far as persons who practice on the arbitration side. Para 42, extending section 17 of the Limitation Act would go contrary to the principle of unbreakability enshrined under section 34(3) of the Arbitration Act. If section 17 is also held applicable, then there will be no end to the arbitration. Even otherwise, see, there are international arbitrations or even otherwise. What they say is that they enter into the agreement, venue of arbitration they will say Singapore, not India. Why? Because of the delay. So we should also be aware of the old method of sa, that will not work nowadays. Particularly Arbitration Act and other new gen laws. Speed is a hallmark. So that we have to change. So we will see in the next episode 17, we will continue. Thank you.